Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we'll be discussing about adding colors to our black and white Magento admin grid. We often get requests from the customers. How can you add some colors based on order status or some data? So let's see how we can do that. Alright, let's begin. I will be continuing with our previous custom data provider admin grid that we created. This is the admin grid that we created earlier. Alright, so this is the admin grid. Usually when we want to add colors or anything to the front end, we have to play with the CSS. And to play with the CSS, we need some classes. Now, if we view the current admin grid, there is no specific class which identified as a content that we can customize. So our first job is to add some class either to TD or TR or both based on the content of the row, which will then further help us adding a CSS based on the content. So let's start. This is the module that we have already created in our previous tutorial. The first thing that we need to do is we need to open the column components because that is where we need to make changes. So this is our column structure. By default, it takes the listing component, which we don't specifically mention over here. So this is the listing component that it uses. It's located in the module UI extension, view base web.js grid and listing.js. The first thing that we need to do is we need to extend this component so that we can start adding some classes and everything. Now, because we need to add class, we certainly need to add something to the template. It uses this UI grid listing template. It is located over here under templates, grid and listing.html. What we need to do is we will have to add some CSS over here. They have already added the CSS, but we need to possibly add our custom CSS. This is the TD which is displayed, and that is the column, and this is the row. So what we will try to do is we will try to add CSS both in row and column, and we can then use it as we like. So let's start. Now the first thing that we need to do is we need to possibly add a custom component which will be extending this listing component. So let's see. So let's try. I'll be passing the argument we're passing some configuration. So item name should be config, and now we are passing the component. Okay, now let's name this component as, what's the name for module? Demo underscore admin grid JS grid, and we will just replicate the name exactly as it is listing. Now we need to actually create this file under demo grid, JS grid and listing, which comes under web JS grid listing.js. Yes, I want to create a file. So now we have created this file under web.js grid listing, which we are referencing over here. What we need to do is we need to extend this listing component over here. I'm using define over here, and I will be passing the path of this particular listing component over here, which is under Magento UI module JS grid listing. Okay. Then comes the function, which will be having this collection extended. All right, we will be extending the collection now. That is, we're extending this listing component. The first thing that we need to do is we need to override this template. We need our custom template over here. So we will be passing it under defaults. Template, taking the name from the original one. There is no compulsion to take the name as it is like from the original one, but usually we follow this convention. So there is no confusion in the future. Now we need to create a template file called grid listing. All right. Now the template file goes on the web, template grid and listing.phtml, because this is a template file. The content more or less remain the same as the original one, so I will simply copy this down and put it over here. Now what will happen is this column component will be taking this template instead of the default one. The next thing is we need to add some CSS class. Now let's observe this template. What it does is it fetches the data, the visible columns, and it renders the header. Over here it takes the rows. For each rows, as each item considered as $row, they add some CSS and they pass it over here. So if the row is present, they pass the data. Now this is basically the odd and even CSS that they created. What we do is we will be passing whatever data is there in the row to our component so that we can process it further and pass it as a CSS class. So let's say we are creating function in the component we will be creating. I'm just writing it right now, and pass the row over here the way they have passed it over. Row. All right, let's do the same thing in the TD in case we need to do something with regards to TD. So remove this class and we'll add the, sorry, I will remove this function and I will add the new function. Same. There is one thing to note over here. Now in this sense, this tr is considered as a parent of this td. So to get the row class, it won't work in this way, the way it is working over here, because it's the parent. So we need to reference a parent over here, which will be $parent dot get row class. All right, so we are all set up. Now what we need to do is we need to create this function in this listing.js file. Don't get confused by function, method, those are all same. Different programming languages uses different one, and I often have a habit to use sometimes function, sometimes method. So in this sense, both are same. Okay, so we are creating this function get row class. Let's do one thing. I'll print out the row data first and see whether it works or not. I will remove the where view process because it might be storing some. It was not needed, but I just checked this. Okay, now in the console we should hopefully see the row data. Okay, there is some error. Failed to load component demo admin grid js grid listing. So we did some mistake over here. Let's see. Okay, we did a big mistake. We forgot to mention this place. We directly added web over here. All these files should be under base. Base is loaded every time. Admin HTML in admin and frontend in frontend. So we should remember that such kind of mistake can cause a problem. I'll move everything under this. Yeah, that's fine. You can refactor. Done. Base js template grid. Okay, everything seems fine now. Let's clean our caches and see. Okay, there is one more error. It's good that we are getting error. So in the meantime, we are also looking into how to debug this thing. Now what error we have? Failed to load the demo admin grid listing template. So this time we are not able to load the listing template that we added. Okay, so where did we add the template? In the listing.js file. Demo underscore read underscore listing.html. Ideally it should load, but let's see. Here everything seems to be fine. All right, we are still not getting the template, so let's see. I will quickly go through some of the things and we'll get back. All right, this is the biggest mistake we did. We named the file as phtml, which should ideally be an HTML file. And this is the reason we were getting 404. Now the file is okay, everything seems fine. Let's go to listing. We want to print the row. Let's return something as a general because our class will be expecting something. Okay, now we should be seeing something printed in the console, especially the row data, and we should also see the general class hopefully added into the TD and TR both because we added there. Okay, we don't see anything in the console now. Let's see if the class is being printed. Yes, the class got added. General which we add. Over here also we added something in the TR. Yes, the general. I'm not sure why we didn't see anything in the console. Let us check that also. Okay, I will reload once again. Okay, so here we see the row data over here. The ID 1, name test item, city New York, which is this, company Microsoft. Test item, New York, company Microsoft. Now what we need to do is just clean up this preserve log so it doesn't get printed again and again. All right, now let's do one thing. We will print the row which has a company name Microsoft in maybe red color, and the one which has Google in green color, or the one which has HP in green color. So now we have the classes. The next thing that we need to do is we need to pass this company name into the row classes. This should be pretty easy. We just need to get the row company name, row dot company, or if there is no company, then maybe we will pass the general class. So I will do this, and now we should see the classes accordingly into the all right. Now we see the classes Microsoft. Here we see the class HP. So one thing is done. We have got our classes in place. Now the only thing remaining is customizing this class with the appropriate CSS. Each module contains a default module.less file which we can use to add our CSS. So what we need to do is we need to again go to web, base, web, CSS, and create a file called underscore module dot less file. This less file will be further compiled and added into the CSS. Now what we have over here, our data row. Let's first try to look at the column. So what we decided was we will have HP in green. So we have data row, then TD, then class is HP. Okay, data grid class is HP. Let's put the background color as green. Data grid TD class, let's say, is Microsoft. Blue. All right. We need to remove pop static because CSS file needs to recompile where view processed, and that should be enough. And still play the cache. All right, we didn't got anything because maybe our CSS didn't got applied. Okay, again we did one mistake. The CSS file should come under CSS source, and then this module goes under source. It's good that in this tutorial we did a couple of mistakes that we got a chance to actually debug the things and see how they work. These are most common mistake which everyone do. Remembering the folder structure, file structure, and ensuring that they go as then how the Magento needs it. So here we have the colors over here. Now, because we have these classes over here, you can do it anything. It's up to your imagination. You get the row data into the get row class, which is over here. You get the row data. You can process it based on your requirement. You can pass any classes, anything. Maybe you can also calculate, like, if for an order, if the order amount is greater than xxx, then something, then if order amount is y, then something else. So there are n number of possibilities of customizing these things based on CSS classes. Mostly people use icons, some use colors, font styles, etc, etc. But in general, this is how it is done. What we saw in this tutorial is for the custom admin grid. The same works for any predefined admin grid, whether it's an order grid or customer grid. You need to follow the same process. The only difference will be you will have to find the exact file name for that particular admin grid. This is the UI component file name, and you need to pass this value into the columns. In this tutorial, we'll not be covering how it will be done, but maybe in future we can do it, but it's quite simple. You simply need to copy down the file name and just pass this argument, and rest all the steps remains the same. Okay, that's it for today. Hope to see you again. Thank you.